Step 1 of removal, you want to start on the inside of the door. There's a little hole here and there's a retainer pin in there. You're going to push in on that retainer pin and pull that lever off and set it aside. And now we're going to go to step 2. Step 2, pretty simple. Just rotate this outside ring counterclockwise and pull it off and set that aside. Now we go to step 3. Now for step 3, we're going to remove this clock spring ring, and it's held on by 2 screws, just bottom and top right here. And I use a drill driver for this, but you can use a screwdriver. There's 1, there's 2, and we're going to set that aside. And now we'll move to step 4. Okay, for step 4, we're going to remove this ring as well, and it's held on by 2 screws here and here. And we're going to reverse those real fast. And then just set that aside. Now step 5. Now for step 5, this is relatively simple. You just simply rock back and forth, forward and backwards, and pull at the same time. And the handle comes right out, just like that. Now we'll go to step 6. As you can imagine, step 6, 2 screws on the latch. We're going to reverse those real fast and set that aside. And now we'll go to reassembly. First step of reinstallation on this 2 3/4 back set. We're going to install our latch. This is a 2 3/4 back set latch, which is a commercial grade latch. What I normally like to do is get the actual screws started just a little bit, and I use a drill driver just to speed things up, but you can of course use any screwdriver. And that's step 1. Let's move on to step 2. Now for step 2, you just need to make a decision. I wanted to show you how these things come directly to you out of the box. They come actually to accept through bolts, but these threads actually unscrew, and it gives you the option of using the short screw installation, which is a little bit easier because you don't have to drill through the face of the door if there aren't currently holes on the door that you're working with to accept these through bolts. I'm going to leave the through bolts in, but they do unscrew on both sides, so if you wanted to go with that short screw installation that is a lot quicker, you can do that. But for me, I always like to use the through bolts. It just adds a lot more stability to the lock, and this is a really good lock anyways, so we want to make sure that it's on there for a long time. So step 2, I'm going to stay with these, and now let's move on to step 3. For step 3, you want to pay very close attention to this lip right here, this lip here, and the lip here and here, which actually control the pullback of our latch. And when you go to install this lever, you want to make sure that you line up our through bolts, or the threads for the through bolts, and very gently rock this lock into place, and just give it a push. And it'll go right into place. And you can see where everything kind of lines up through this little window here. Test for operation, and move on to step 4. Okay, we're going to go ahead and install our retaining plate. Just put that into position. And I like to finger tighten these just a little bit, just to kind of get them started. And then I use a drill driver to just go ahead and zip them into place. But you can use a screwdriver for any of this installation. Now we'll move on to step 5. Step 5, we're going to go ahead and install our clock spring ring. This controls the rebound of the lever, so when you depress the lever, it returns it to position. And I just like to kind of start these by finger tightening them. And then I zip them into place with a drill gun. However, you can use a screwdriver, it doesn't really matter. And like that, we'll move on to step 6. Step 6, you'll see a small channel on the side of this little escutcheon here. You just line that up with our cover plate and give it a turn, and it'll snap right into place. Step 7. Okay, last step, step 7. we're going to install our lever. This just slips over the spindle just like that. And you want to line this little retainer hole with the retainer itself. And then just give it a push. And like that, it's installed. And this is the PLS Entry Function Grade 2 commercial lever, available from lockpeddler.com.